Hello everyone, good evening and welcome to the IBPS PO 2016 Success Academy brought to you by TalentSprint. Well, I see a lot of students have already joined the session, so good to see you guys. Welcome. At the outset, I would like to congratulate you all for getting this opportunity by IBPS, right, to start your career in the banking industry in the year 2016, right? You all know that IBPS PO is one of the biggest bank exam recruitment notifications recruitment that happens in a year. And for the first time ever, IBPS has also declared that there are going to be 8,800 vacancies which will be filled through this recruitment. So I think that's a big number and they have thrown open the gates for you all, right? So congratulations for that, and I really appreciate your commitment and dedication. You have taken the right first step by joining this live session brought to you by TalentSprint, where we will discuss 5 habits that you need to kick to succeed in IBPS PO 2016 exam. Right, so that's the agenda. But before that, let's quickly talk about this notification. Right, you all know that the application has started last week, right, and it will go on up to August 16. So the first thing that I would like to tell you all is complete the registration process for the IBPS PO exam at the earliest possible. Please do not delay this. Right, do not procrastinate it and think that you will do it towards the end of the last date or something like that, because in most of the cases we have found that the servers and all go very they're like fully loaded during the last days, and it becomes difficult to complete the application. So I think, remember, you have to first complete your application at the earliest and at the same time start your preparation. So I think a very big opportunity. I'm sure all of you are excited and anxious as to what to do, what not to do, how do we prepare, what to prepare, right? What kind of subjects should I focus on, what will be the cutoff, and what should be the minimum number of questions that I should attempt in each of these sections. Then things like what are the important topics to focus on, what kind of questions have been asked in the previous years. So all these are questions that would naturally come to all the aspirants, right? But I think what we are going to discuss today is something different, right? These are 5 habits which most of us have inculcated over a period of time, and these are bad habits, let me tell you, right? So you have to ensure that you kick these habits out and start doing the right things, right? See, the biggest challenge is most of us do not realize that these are the things that we are doing wrong, right? We are running after the wrong things, let me tell you. We have a completely wrong opinion about how to prepare and how to succeed in exams. So I think that is what I'm going to discuss in the session today, which is 5 habits to kick to succeed in IBPS PO 2016. Having said that, let me also quickly mention about what this IBPS PO 2016 Success Academy is. Well, this is a series of free live sessions and free mock tests brought to you by TalentSprint. You can all see the calendar which has been made available and has been shared with all of you, right? We'll be having 5 live sessions in English and 5 live sessions in Hindi, right? To address all those who are asking me to also talk in Hindi. Let me tell you, we'll have the same session on this Friday, where we'll discuss the same topic in Hindi. So 5 sessions which will start with today's session, the 5 habits that you have to kick to succeed in IBPS PO. Then we'll have sessions on quantitative aptitude, reasoning ability, and English language. We'll discuss about important areas in each of these sections. And finally, we'll look at the one objective that you all have to succeed in IBPS PO. So what is the exam strategy that you all must follow so that you can give the best in that limited time of the exam. All right. So same 5 sessions would also happen in Hindi, will be conducted in Hindi. And apart from this, we have mock tests, right? All India level mock tests on different sections, which is quantitative aptitude, reasoning ability, English language, and then there is a full length all India mock exam that we would conduct. So I would suggest all of you to ensure that you participate in all these sessions and take all these mock tests that will enlighten you about what you're doing wrong, right? More importantly, what you're doing wrong and how should you improve so that you can give the best shot in this exam. All right, so with that, I think we can start now about the 5 habits that you need to kick. So I have a small presentation that I'll share with you, right? What I'll do is show you some slides. I want all of you to look at these slides for about 15-10 seconds, right? Just pay full attention to it, right? One slide after the other, and then understand what I'm trying to tell there, right? Of course, I'll discuss about it in detail after I show the slide to you. So let me quickly share that presentation. I want all of you to look at the slides there, right? I'll present it one after the other and try to grasp what is the meaning there. And I'm sure most of you will realize that, okay, this is something which I have been doing. And yes, it is wrong. So I should kick it out and start doing the right things, right? So here we go, sharing my presentations with all of you. So like you see, 5 habits to kick for IBPS PO preparation, right? Now, here comes the first one. So I think that's habit number 1 that you have to kick out. Well, it's not written in clear text here. I'm saying solve equals to write is one habit that all of us have. I want all of you to just focus on this, pay attention for 15 to 20 seconds, and then I'll talk about what I really mean here. I want all of you to come out with your thoughts on what you actually understood from this, and then I'll tell you what actually it means. So habit number 1 that I'm talking about is, the opinion that we have, which is solve equals to write. So what do you understand from this? Okay, I think I've got the first comment from Roy. He says, don't use pen for the exam. I think very close to what I actually mean there. Let me see what others have to say. Riddhi says, practice writing. Well, that's, quite opposite to what Roy had mentioned. What else? Atul says, don't write and don't use pen, avoid using pen, solving in mind, try to use less paperwork, right? It means that solving is not necessarily paperwork, mind calculation. I'm just reading out comments that have been shade here, right? Don't write to solve, mind calculation, mental calculations. I think amazing. You guys are on the right track. So let me just quickly come back on the video. So the first habit that we talked about or that I've shown you here is solve equals to write. And I think most of you have got it right? I thought it would be a little difficult for some of you to understand it, but I'm glad to see that you've actually got the point here. Solve equals to write. Now what does it mean? See, all of us have this habit where we think that solving a problem means writing something on paper, right? And we actually love this. We are in love with pen and paper, right? The moment you see a question, you start doing something on paper without realizing if it is really important or not. I mean, you don't really do a check if I need to put pen on paper or not, but you just start doing it, right? Be it a very simple question, as simple as the question could be, but you write something on paper. And this, let me tell you, is a bad habit, right? Habits die very hard, especially bad habits, and this is one of those. We don't realize that we are wasting a lot of time during our practice and also, more importantly, in the exam by writing things on paper which can be avoided, right? Be it calculations that we do on paper or the formula that we write on paper or unnecessary scribbling that we do on paper, right? You're thinking about something when you're solving the question, but you also try to pen your thoughts using that formula or the equation that you have in mind, which is not needed, which is absolutely not needed. And this is one thing that you'll have to start practicing very hard and kick it out, right? You have to ensure that you avoid putting pen on paper as much as possible, right? I can give you a number of examples of this, right? Like for example, like most of you have pointed out, calculations, right? You have to do calculations mentally, right? That's what you have to do. Even very simple calculations are being done on paper. That's what I've observed, right? Like for example, let's say if I ask you what is 12 into 2, I'm sure all of you said 24, right? What is 6 into 8? 48. What is 5 into 3? 15. We all know this, right? Then let's say what is 13 into 1? It's 13. What is 7 into 9? 63. What is 4 squared? 16, right? What is 12 squared? 144, right? What is 9 into 2? 18. So these are things that we have learned over a period of time, and we have learned this by heart. You're not calculating something. You know the answer, right? 9 into 2 is 18, not because you have calculated that. It is because you know that 9 into 2 is 18, right? It is like stuck with you forever, right? So you know that 9 into 2 is 18. But like for example, if I ask you what is 87 into 93, what will you do? 87 into 93? 87 into 93. Let's say you are reading a question, right? You are reading a question from quantitative aptitude, or a question is based on simplifications, let's say. So you realize that, okay, 87 has to be multiplied with 93. Now I'm sure the first thought that most of us would get is, this is a complex one. And you start doing it on paper. What do? You'll first write the numbers. See how we waste our time. We don't realize, the problem is we don't realize that we are wasting a lot of time when we are doing calculations. Like for example, 87 multiplied by 93. The first thing that you'll do is write 87 and 93. Tell me, did you start your calculation? Not really. Have you started your calculation? No. What you have written so far on the paper is only the two numbers, those have to be multiplied. right? 87 has to be multiplied with 93. However fast you write, this would take at least 1 second. 87 and 93, right? However quick you are in writing, it takes 1 second. And you haven't done anything productive in that 1 second other than writing these numbers, which in my view is not needed. It can be avoided. We'll come to that later. How do we avoid it? But let me tell you, this part that you have put on paper is a waste of time. Now, most of you may, debate on this, saying that how do we multiply even without writing the numbers? Fine, accept it. 87 and 93 have to be written. Now comes the problem. And this is what you need to focus on, right? This will sound a little funny, but this is where we are going wrong. All of us know that we have to multiply these two numbers. Yes, all of us really know that we have to multiply these two numbers, but still we'll put an into sign. Why? Now this is habit. This is what I'm talking about, right? 5 habits that you have to kick. Number 1 is avoid this. Why did you put this into sign? How does it matter? This is only presentation. And let me tell you, when you are taking a competitive exam, you're not showing your presentation skills there, right? That you can do when you go for the interview. Here, you have to show your speed, right? You have to prove that you are really quick in what you're doing there. How does it matter? Into sign doesn't really make a difference, right? I can put a plus sign and I can multiply. I can draw a dollar there and I can multiply. I can put a smiley there and I can multiply. Or I need not put anything and I can multiply. It's not that in the middle of the calculation, you forget what you're doing. And then you look at this, multiplication. And then you start getting back on the track and multiply. It's not that, right? It is a waste of time. Now again, like many of you will say, how does it matter? Into sign, how much time will it take? Half a second, less than half a second? I agree. It doesn't take much time, right? Less than a second, right? But how many such into signs will you put on paper? Multiplications on paper? You'll do at least 30 such calculations and 30 into signs. Count the time. Look at the time that you have spent. This is what you need to avoid in the exam. You know what is this? This is the time that you have spent in only putting multiplication signs on paper when you're doing these calculations. And this, in my view, is equal to, if not more, at least 2 marks. This is at least 2 marks of the exam, right? There are easier questions which can be solved. 2 of those questions can be solved in this much of time. So avoid that, right? Well, I know many of you will also tell me that I don't have this habit. I don't put into sign, I directly multiply. But then see, we draw a line. Presentation, which is not needed. What is the meaning of this line here? It only shows that this is the question and you will now do the solution, right? Question and solution, which is a waste of time, right? So avoid. Again, doesn't take much time, but why? You start multiplying. 7 into 3, 21, 7, 8, 3 into 8, 24 into 26. Then one more into sign. Some people put a 0, some people put an into sign. Some just leave it as it is, right? Then you multiply with the tens place. So 9 into 7, 63. So 3 here and 6 carried forward. 9 into 8, 72. 72 and 6 is 78. So 8 here. And then another line. What is the meaning here? This line means that rough work is over. Now I'm going to put the final answer, right? The final answer. Now you do this addition. 1 plus nothing is 1. 3 plus 6 is 9. 2 plus 8 is 10. So 1 carried forward. See, all these things are actually wasting your time, right? Eating your time, right? This carry forward of 1, 6, 2, etc. And then you add 1 and 7 is 8. 8091, which means 87 into 93 is 8091. Tell me, is the answer done? Have you got the answer? No, not really. One more line. What is this? This is that line of achievement. Yes, I've got the answer, right? Yes, I've got the answer. And some people have a very bad habit. They'll put 2 lines. They'll put 2 lines there, right? You know, right? We'll put these 2 lines after every calculation that we do. So I think, realize these are things which you have built over a period of time. I mean, this has become a habit, right? I'm not saying you're doing it intentionally, but it has become a habit. And like I said, habits die very hard. So you have to really practice hard and ensure that you avoid putting pen on paper. Now you may ask me, how do you do it? Like most of you have pointed out, this is a simple calculation which can be done using a plus b into a minus b equals to a square minus b square, right? 87 is like 90 minus 3 and 93 is 90 plus 3. Right? I was looking at the comments. So many of you said a plus b into a minus b. Good. So 93 and 90 minus 3. 90 plus 3 and 90 minus 3. So 90 squared minus 3 squared. 8100 minus 9 will give you 8091. Right? This is one example that I've taken to explain this to you. But the point that I'm trying to make here is avoid putting pen on paper. Right? Solving a question does not mean that you have to write things on paper. And not just quantitative aptitude. Even in reasoning, we end up writing a lot of stuff on paper, right? And for that matter, English language, right? I have seen, I'm not making it up. I've seen students writing things on paper when they're solving questions on English. When it is all out of habit, right? Do unnecessary scribbling and all that. So understand, solving a question does not mean that you have to write something on paper, right? So this is the number 1 item that you'll have to kick out, okay? I hope all of you have got the point. Let us now move on to point number 2. Okay, point number 2 or the habit number 2 that you'll have to kick so that you can improve your scores and boost your chances in the exam. I'm sure many of you will also feel that this is something which you already know, right? Because I've been telling this from for almost 2 years now, through these live sessions, that do not put pen on paper. But for those who are new, understand this is very, very bad, right? A bad habit which you'll have to avoid. Now let me show you the second screen and see how many of you understand the second point. Here we go. So point number 2 here on your screens, answer equal to solve. Answer equal to solve. Now what could this mean? Answer is equal to solve. Okay, so I can see a few comments here. Arjun says solve the options. Rajashri says getting help from options, accurate result, right? Substitution method. Then check through the options, try options, use options. Yeah, so I think you've got the point, but only one part of it, right? Only one part of it, right? Approximate answer, usage of options. I think all of you are talking about usage of options there, but what else can be done, right? According to options, solve through options. That's what I see. We end up wasting a lot of time solving the whole question. Sometimes we can find the answer in a few seconds using options. Good. So I think somebody has given a descriptive, detailed meaning of what I'm trying to say here, right? No need to find the final answer. Elimination. Yeah. Pawan Pathak says skips. I'm sure Pawan knows some very good strategies of answering the questions here. So let me come back to the video. So point number 2 that we have seen was answer equals solve. Now, like all of you have rightly got here, it says, to answer a question, you have to solve that question, which is wrong, right? Which is a wrong understanding that we have, right? To answer a given question, you need not solve it always, right? You have to do a solution, but there are different ways of arriving at the answer, right? And I'm sure, at least a few of you have seen our very popular video on 4 ways to solve questions from quantitative aptitude, where we have discussed about different ways in which you can answer the given question. You can use the complete solution, the regular method can be used, and then you can follow something called a substitution method, then you can use elimination method, you can use special techniques like root digit or digital root method, units place method, approximate calculation like a few of you have pointed out, to arrive at the answer, right? It is not necessary that you have to do the complete solution for you to get the answer. And elimination is one of the best substitutes for what I'm trying to explain here, right? Elimination method, approximation method, all of you are, I hope all of you are clear with what I'm trying to say, right? Like questions from ages, especially when you look at questions which are based on ratios and proportions. I'm just trying to give some example, right? There are a lot of examples that I can quote here, but again, videos are already available. If you can look at the TalentSprint's YouTube channel, there are many videos where we have covered different techniques and smart methods of answering the questions. So understand, conventional method is not the method that is that has to be applied for answering the questions, or solution is not something that has to be completely done to arrive at the answer. There are various other techniques that can be used, some of which I've listed out. So you can go through our YouTube channel and learn about these different techniques, right? One very useful video that you can see on this will be 4 ways to solve questions from aptitude, right? 4 ways to solve questions from quantitative aptitude. Again here, by solve, I don't mean that you have to solve it completely, but you can use different techniques, right? Elimination of options is one of those. Like for example, when you look at questions based on ratios, right? A question on ages, let us say, where ratios are given to you, right? The ratio between the ages of Rakesh and Geeta is 4:5. And 6 years from now, this ratio becomes 5:6. Now this is one question where, again, you also use your first habit, which is actually not needed, right? You put on paper, you put steps on paper, follow a conventional method, and then arrive at the answer. But you can't be doing that always, right? That question can be answered mentally without having to put pen on paper using something other than the conventional method. Are you able to follow? Now, I agree that they have increased the level of the exam. Questions these days are not very straight. We are also getting, questions of higher difficulty. But then, what is a higher difficulty? What is a question which has got high difficulty in it, right? It is not something which is which will take ages for you to solve, right? A question which is complex is a combination of 2-3 concepts, right? Those, I mean, earlier we used to get a question which can be solved using one single concept or a formula. But these days you see that 2-3 things are connected, right? Are properly weaved into a question, and that is what makes it complex, right? It looks lengthy in the first place, so you get anxious as to how complex it would be, and then you start reading it, and if you follow conventional method for each of those 2-3 parts, then obviously you'll end up wasting a lot of time, right? So the point is, let it be very simple. You should know how to solve it in a simpler way, right? Even the question is very straight, very simple, it can be solved using a formula. You should know how can you solve it differently, right? And same techniques will be useful for you to solve complex questions which involves 2 or 3 such types of questions into one. You're getting it? So I think point number 2 is very clear, and I'm glad that you have followed this as well, which is answering a question is generally considered as solving a question, right? For you to answer the question, you have to solve it, but it's not the case, right? So try and learn these techniques. Lots of videos are available in YouTube, right? You can also explore our free trial program, which I'm sure all of you have got. So you can look at those videos which are available, right? Some of the videos are available for you, like simple and compound interest, data sufficiency, speed maths, right? And things like blood relations in reasoning, and some topics in English language as well, right? So just go through these videos and understand these various techniques and start applying those, right? Start applying those smart methods, not the conventional methods, to arrive at the answer, okay? So please ensure that you exploit the free trial program that you've got, because it has got some content, but very, very useful content, right? So that's about the second habit here. I think we are ready to move to the next one, okay? So let me share the screen again and see what we have next. So here's the third one on your screen now. High score equals answer. Let me see how many of you get it right. I'm sure those who have been participating in our sessions regularly would know what I'm trying to say. Others can also express their views. Like in the previous case, I saw some of you having completely opposite view. Like, you have to solve questions using shortcut formula and all that. I was reading some of the comments there. So you can all share your views here, which will help me understand your understanding of the point. Remember, I'm talking about bad habits, right? These are 5 habits that you have to kick. Bad habits. So high score equals to answer. What does it mean? Okay, so some comments here. Accuracy is the matter here. Choose the questions rightly. The more you answer, the more you score. Accuracy is must, right? Quality accuracy. The greatest option, not to answer all questions. Attempting as much as possible. Skip complex questions. Good. Then we have more good answer will secure highest numbers. Accuracy, okay. Do as much as possible but with accuracy. So I think we're actually trying to say do as little as possible but with accuracy. Okay, so I think the general sense that I get from your comments here is that accuracy is important, right? That's what you're all saying here, right? Accuracy is important, but a few like Manoj and all say that, not to answer all the questions. Raghuram says skip. I'm sure Raghuram is one of our students. I've seen Raghuram participating in our previous sessions as well. Venu also says skip. Then Roy was one who said, seriously, honestly, I did not understand what it means. So I think time now for me to, bring some clarity here. Don't blindly tick answers. Accuracy matters. This is from Ipsita Das. And look at what Raghuram says. Yeah, I have been in your sessions earlier, so I think it was easy for him to catch the point. Ruchi Purohit also says that quality matters and not quantity. Okay. So let's look at point number 3 in detail now. It said high score is equal to answer, right? High score is equal to answer. Now, like most of you have mentioned, it is about accuracy. Well, not really, right? I did not mean anything to do with accuracy here. Again, I don't mean to say that you should not be accurate, but the point here is that for you to get a high score, you have to answer the questions. You have to answer all the questions. This is a general feeling that we have, right? And it is proven from the fact that I'm usually, thrown with questions like how many questions should I answer in the exam, right? What should be the minimum number of questions that I should answer so that I can clear the cutoff, right? What is the expected cutoff for this exam, right? What do you think will be the cutoff for reasoning? What do you think will be the cutoff for English? And things like that. So I think this is a very wrong understanding or approach that you have for qualifying in these competitive exams. You're getting it? For you to get a high score, you have to answer more questions. It is not the case, right? And like some of you have pointed out rightly, skip is one very important method. I think even in the previous habit, the second one, which we have talked about, where there are different ways of solving questions. I think one very important method to solve a question is to not solve it, right? I think those who have been attending the session, they are very clear about it. Let me throw some light for those who are new to this. Now the point is, if you have been given 35 questions in quantitative aptitude, does not mean that you have to answer all the 35 questions of course, all the 35 questions if you answer, you'll get the highest score there. But the idea is not that if you answer more number of questions, you'll get a high score. It's not the case. You have to ensure that you choose the questions wisely. Are you able to follow? So what I'm actually trying to stress here is to ensure that you choose your questions wisely. Now by that I mean sometimes you actually get a higher score by not answering the questions. Now this sounds confusing, right? How can we get a high score by not answering a question? It actually is the fact. Now, not answering what type of questions? Those questions which consume a lot of time, right? See, just because you know how to solve a question does not mean that you start solving it in the exam. The first thing that you all have to do when you see a question, when you read a question, is to check if it is worth solving it or not. You have to take that instant call. Do I have to solve it or skip it? Where most of us actually fail, right? And that is the reason we end up wasting a lot of time, right? And we get a low score, right? Everybody comes back and says time management is a bigger problem, or time management is the most important part. I'm not able to manage the time. The given time is not sufficient. There are only 60 minutes for 100 questions. Then how is that others are able to get a high score, right? It's not that some of us have come from Mars and we have some, other capabilities, right? It's not that. All of us are equal and the same paper has been given to all of us with the same time limit. Then why is that we are not able to perform well? It is because we are not choosing the questions wisely, right? You read a question, you have understood the question, you know how to solve it, and then you start solving it. Don't do that. Are you able to follow? After third step, you have to ask yourself a question, right? You read the question, you understand the question, you know how to solve it. Then the question that you should ask yourself is, should I solve it or not? Is it really worth solving it or not, right? If that question is going to give you if you're going to get the answer, let's say in 2 minutes or more than 1 minute, then it is better you skip it. Choose the questions wisely, right? Choose easier ones. It is like, if you have to take an analogy from sport, I'm sure again, many of you may feel that I've spoken about this a number of times, but let me just repeat it for the sake of those who are new, right? You look at some of the greatest batsmen who, when they're playing cricket, right? What happens? Do they hit every ball? No. They are not there for hitting every ball. They are there to give their best. And for them to give the best, they'll have to skip some balls. They are respecting those balls. They're respecting the bowler. That's a good ball. He understands that. He knows that there is a chance he may get caught somewhere. So he'll skip it. Are you able to follow? Now you will not laugh at that batsman saying that you have skipped that ball, right? The bowler may tease him, but will not make fun of him, right? We know that he understands the game, right? We at least believe that he understands the game, and that is the reason he has skipped it. You take any of the greatest batsmen, right? Your favorite batsman for that matter. And the same has to be applied in your exam as well, right? If you want to ensure that you solve all the 50 questions, you actually have to skip some of the questions. Now, by skipping some of the questions, you'll not be solving all the questions, but you will at least ensure that you will get a high score, right? So, get it right. Getting a high score does not mean that you have to answer all the questions. Getting a high score means you have to answer the questions after choosing them wisely, right? So start doing this now. Try to check how many of you are actually doing this. Are you really looking at the question and deciding is it worth solving or not? No. It happens many a times, right? Like for example, complex arrangements. If you look at the subject of reasoning ability, there's something called as complex arrangements, complex linear arrangements, complex circular arrangements. And like the name says, these are complex questions. Now what do most of us do? We start solving it because we feel that, okay, there's a 5 marks question. With this common data, there are 5 questions which have been asked. So if I get this right, I'll get 5 marks. Let me tell you, it is not worth attempting those questions, right? The first thing that you do when you look at a complex arrangement question is to skip it, keep it aside and go to the next one. Choose the easier ones first. See, at least till last year, the case was that every question carries 1 mark. There was an equal weightage for all the questions. So why do you waste your time in answering difficult ones? Solve the easier ones, right? Whether you solve a question in 10 seconds or 60 seconds, you are going to get the same 1 mark. Whether you solve it in 1 second or 10 seconds, you are going to get the same 1 mark, right? Whether you solve it and mark the answer or you blindly mark an answer. If it is correct, you will get 1 mark, right? The examiner will not come and question you that how did you solve it, right? Even if you have copied it from someone, let's say, you will get 1 mark. You will be awarded 1 mark because your answer was right. So if this is the case, then why do we choose difficult ones? Are you able to follow? So understand, just because you know a solution, don't start solving it. Decide, do you want to solve it or not? And this needs a lot of practice. If you're thinking that I'll directly do it in the exam, I'll choose the questions wisely, it's not going to happen. These all become habits, right? And you've been doing it for a long time. So you need to spend an equal amount of time, right? Or maybe you have to, dedicatedly practice to see that you don't solve complex ones, or at least skip the complex ones. So I think that is why many of you are saying that you have to skip the questions. For those who have not understood, skipping means this, right? So if you go back to habit number 2, where we have talked about different ways of solving a question, I think one very important way of solving some of the questions is to skip it. Are you able to follow? Skip and go to the next one. Like for example, number series in quantitative aptitude. What happens? Is there a method to answer questions from number series? No. Number series, a series of numbers is given to you with a missing number. Your job is to find out the missing number. Now the problem with these type of questions is these are very, very intriguing, right? These are like you tempt to try those questions and you end up wasting your time. I'm not saying don't try it. Give it a shot. When it comes to number series, give it a shot. 15 seconds. If you get some logic, well and good. Otherwise, just leave it and go to the next one. Because number series has got no method to arrive at the answer, no shortcut formula, no technique, no smart method, nothing. It is all about trial and error. You try it. If you get the logic, okay. If you don't get the logic, you have to try with something else, right? If you get an error, try with something else. Now, if this is the case, why do you take a risk? Right? You have to take calculated risk. You can't be wasting it. I mean, this is a pure gamble. This is like gambling, right? You keep putting your money thinking that this time I'll get it, this time I'll get it, this time I'll get it, until you lose all the money. Same happens in number series, right? You invest 15 seconds, you come very close to the answer. You think that, okay, I've got the logic, but you're not getting the right answer there. Now what do you feel? Now that I've already spent 15 minutes, let me spend 15 more seconds. Because if this time I get the answer, all these 30 seconds will be of equal to value 1 mark, right? You invest 15 more seconds, you don't get it. And now frustration starts building up. Why? You have spent 30 seconds on a question which you have not been able to solve and you thought you could get it. You try to spend 10 more seconds, maybe this time I'll get it because I'm very close. The problem is I'm very close to getting the answer. I think I know the logic, I think I can get the logic. You invest 10 more seconds and this frustration takes over you, right? So avoid that. You have to ensure, and this can happen only through practice, that you choose your questions wisely, right? Respect good questions. That's a good one, I'll not solve. However, things have changed now, right? If you look at the recent exams like SBI clerks or SBI PO mains exam, and I'm sure going forward even IBPS will follow suit, where different questions will have different weightage. Like in SBI PO exam recently, we had seen that some questions are given for 2 marks, some were for 1 mark. Now there again, it's very easy to decide. I mean, instead of solving a 1 mark question, try to solve a 2 marks one. Of course, the question which has been given a weightage of 2 marks will be complex when compared to that 1 mark question, but you have to take a, you have to do some calculation and understand what needs to be solved and what should be avoided. And again, you don't have too much time to do this. It's like an instant call you take, right? The moment you read the question, you should know, is it worth solving or not? And how can that happen? Only when you practice, right? So you have to practice a lot to ensure that you can skip some of the questions. Skipping is not easy, right? Skipping is really not easy. You have to practice for that. So I think get the point. High score is not equal to answering more questions. High score means choosing the questions wisely and answering the easiest of those questions. All right. So I hope all of you have got the point here. Shall we move to the next one? Lakshit says explain point 3. Well, Lakshit, I've been explaining that only all this while, right? High score does not mean that you have to answer more questions, right? For you to get a high score, you should not answer all the questions. For you to get a high score, you should answer the maximum questions possible. See, when you go for an exam, what happens? Your target is not to solve all the 100 questions there. Do you go with that kind of a target? No. Don't have those very high targets of answering all the. You know that it's not likely that one will answer all the 100 questions in the exam. So your target is not to answer all the 100 questions. Your target is to answer the maximum number of questions possible in that limited time. And for you to do that, you will definitely have to lose Some questions you'll have to skip some questions. So why not skip those which are complex, right? Again, one more important point that I recall now is that, many of us have this habit of solving from question number 1 till question number 100. Or let's take quantitative aptitude. If there are 35 questions in quantitative aptitude, what do? We look at question 1, then look at question 2, then 3, then 4, then 5, then 6, then 7. We try to go in an order, which need not be the right approach always. You getting me, right? I mean, usually if you see, the more complex ones are thrown in the beginning, and maybe questions at the end are easier ones. So if you get trapped in these complex ones, you'll not find time to solve those easier ones, right? You all know that when we step out of the examination hall, the discussion among students is that, oh, I did not attempt the last 10 questions, I could not read the last 10 questions, I did not read the last 13 questions, I was in question number 86 when the timer was up, right? I was in question number 72 when the invigilator snatched my paper. All of us have experiences, right, including me, right? That we are not able to, forget about solving, we are not even able to read all the questions. Why is that? Because we have wasted a lot of time elsewhere. So that needs to be worked on, right? It is not just a game of shortcut formulae and everything. These things really matter a lot. Okay, so high score does not mean that you have to answer all the questions. High score means something more than that, right? Choose your questions wisely. So I think time now to move to the next one. Let me share the next slide quickly. So here we go. Okay, so habit number 4, which says practice equals high score. Now what is this? Practice equals high score? Spend some time, right? Focus on this. Think about it. Where are we going wrong here? What does it mean? Of course, whatever it means is something that we need to avoid. I mean, we need to stop doing, right? So think about it. What does it mean? Practice equals high score. Arif says analyze. Shiva says practice more and more. Bunty says more practicing. Yeah, so basically you guys are telling me that if you practice more, you'll get a high score, right? Practice before exams. More practice than accuracy. Krishna says more practice than accuracy. Shortcuts, right? More practice, so more speed, more funda clear, more tricks, so more marks. Well, that's nicely explained there, but I don't think I'm trying to say that. Or I'm actually saying that this is wrong. Right? Not just solving. Practice makes to get more marks. Smart work. Same type of questions practice. PPP and analyze. So Arif is saying practice, practice, practice and analyze. Aruna Mohan says practice smartly. Prediction of cutoff. Raghuram says prediction of cutoff. Practice equals accuracy. Practice is the only key for success. Analyzing the questions. Learn from mistakes. Anusha, I think, has brought out a very important point and relevant to what I'm going to discuss. Learn from your mistakes. Right? So I think the two answers which are close to what I'm trying to point out is that you have to analyze, which I think a couple of you had pointed out, and like Anusha said, learn from your mistakes. Just focus on important topics. Rohit Maurya. I've seen many students doing practice, but they do not get high score. More practice equals to more high equals to close to success. Please someone tell the SBI mains clerks ka cutoff. Well, that is the problem, right? I mean, okay, exam is over now. We'll get to know the cutoff shortly, but come back to this. Practice is equal to high score. Shall we discuss this now? No, it's not true. We need to study in such a way that we grasp the concepts and then practice. I think the chat box is moving too fast for me to read the full comment there, but got some point. Practice wisely. So I think time now for me to come back to the screen. Right? A lot of comments, but not many are close to what I'm trying to say. I think the first two were easy for you to understand, but now it has gotten a little difficult, right? So fourth point, what does it say? Fourth point says practice equals high score. Practice. See, understand, get the context. We are talking about 5 things that you need to kick. 5 habits that you need to kick. You have to throw out, right? You have to avoid doing. You have to quit for success in IBPS PO. And this is one of those habits which says practice equals to high score. Practice equals to high score. Let me ask you a simple question. I'm sure all of you have at some point of time during your preparation have come across this. I get lots of emails and messages from students saying that I'm practicing a lot, but still I don't improve myself, right? My scores don't improve. I'm really practicing a lot. I'm doing a lot of hard work. I take lots and lots of mock tests. I've solved the whole book, the complete book of mock papers that I've bought from the market. I've taken all the mock tests which are available in your TalentSprint platform, right? We have hundreds of mock tests for those who are applying for bank exams, right? All our students get access to these mock tests. So they say, some of our students also, let me be very honest, right? They say I've taken all the mock tests, but when I look at the scores, there's no improvement, right? I'm getting the same score that I used to get 1 week back. So why? Why is that happening? Sir, you says practice from where? Well, whatever you practice, right? Be it mock tests that we have or the all India mock exams that we have, right? Other things. So what am I trying to say here? Practice equals to high score. So have you all come across this, the point which I just made, that you're practicing a lot but you don't see any improvement? Do you all feel this anytime? Have you ever felt this? You're practicing a lot but you don't really see any improvement, right? Monica says yes. Rajashri also says, yeah, I have come across this. So why do you think, guys, that this happens? Null says always or not always. Yeah, I felt the same, right? Okay, Swati says yes, Richa Sharma says yes, Ram says yes, Riddhi Nayak says yes, Jerry Roy says yes, Saryu says I felt the same. Okay, then we have some typical usernames, RMSC says yes. Nitish Yadav says I felt yes. So why does this happen? See, the point here is we all believe that by practicing more, I'll get a high score. So I have to take lots and lots of mock tests. I have to take lots of sectional tests, which are all available in our online platform. But understand, just practicing is not going to help you. You have to actually analyze your performance. Now, how many of you really do that? I was actually glad to see that some of you got the point here, that you have to analyze your performance, right? And like Anusha pointed out that, what was that point? I forgot. But I think Anusha and one other person there said, analyze your performance. Yeah. So the point is, just practicing and taking more and more mock tests is not going to help you. You need to analyze your performance in each of those mock tests, understand what is your weakness and try to improve that before you go for the next one. Are you able to follow? What most of us do, we have taken a mock test today. We have got a 40% 4 or 50% score, right? And we are feeling bad about it. Then tomorrow you go and take one more mock test. Of course, you have practiced something during the day, right? Tomorrow you go and take the mock test. Again, your scores are in the same range, or at least you're not in the top performers, right? You know that we conduct an all India mock exam. So we have seen that there are some students who consistently rank in these top performers. I'm sure they are doing something better, something right, which others are not able to do, right? But others say that I'm practicing and I'm practicing and I'm practicing. Like you said, practice, practice and practice. I'm doing that, but still I don't see my scores going up, right? My scores are only going south. So why? Because you're just practicing and you're not analyzing your performance. Are you able to follow? I say that after you have finished taking a mock test, whatever be your score there, you have to spend a good amount of time analyzing what you have done in that mock test, right? And ensure that you don't repeat your mistakes. Yeah, I think Anusha, what Anusha had mentioned was learn from your mistakes. So I think this is what is missing. We are committing mistakes. We are feeling bad about it, but we are not acting on it. You have to learn from your mistakes and improve it. Are you able to follow? A mistake is a mistake if it is done only once. If it is done for the second time, then it is wrong on your part, right? It's not a mistake. Mistake is not a mistake if it is done for the second time. It is intentional then, right? When you do the same mistake for the second time, it is no more a mistake. You have done it intentionally. You could have rectified yourself. So the point is, like we had discussed in the previous point number 3, that you have to you don't have to answer all the questions. You have to choose your questions wisely. So what do? After the exam is over, sit and look at that paper and see how much time you've spent per question. Or this question I had answered, I've gone wrong here. I think I should have avoided it because this is a complex one. Next time, if you skip that kind of a question, you will save that time that you had wasted on it and you'll be able to answer 2 easier questions. Are you able to follow? So a lot of analysis has to be done, right? How much time are you spending on correct answers? How much time are you spending on questions where you have gone wrong? How much time are you spending on unattempted questions? Many times it so happens that you have spent, good amount of time, 2 to 3 minutes on a question, and finally you leave it. It's like angur khatte hain, right? This is not for me. I'll skip it. So why did you waste 2-3 minutes? You should have skipped it in the beginning itself. Now when can you, avoid this? Only when you analyze, sit back and analyze. Right? How much is my accuracy in this topic, right? What are the topics where I'm actually consistently performing good? See, you should know what are your strengths and what are your weakness. The point is you should know your strengths and weakness. And how do you know it? Just not by practicing more and more mock tests, right? You have to sit back and look at what has happened there, right? And I'm actually very excited to share in a public forum that you guys, we have actually we actually have a new member in our team called Tia, right? Tia is a bot, right? You understand, robot, right? So Tia is an artificial intelligence bot which is helping our students, TalentSprint students, analyze their performance. So in our case, if you really look at it, students don't have to sit back and spend time and see how would you know? I mean, even if you look at the question that I've asked, after the exam is over, how would you know how much time you have spent on a given question? You would approximately know that, okay, this took a longer time, this took a lot of time, I was able to do it quickly. But exactly how much time did you spend? Did you spend 12 seconds or 13 seconds? Every second matters, right? This is a competitive exam. You know that for every single job there, thousands of people are writing the exam. And in this case, you have to be very, very careful about the time you spend, right? You can't be spending your time easily there. You have to ensure that you use it very, very usefully, effectively. So what does Tia do? Tia will analyze the performance of all the thousands of students who have taken her exams and sends them a report, a beautiful report which is improving day after day, right? Every day, as every day passes by, Tia is like adapting to new things, trying to analyze a lot of things about the students and sharing this. I'm sure those who are TalentSprint students who have been getting these reports from Tia about their performance, they have actually, if they have acted on it, they would have definitely seen their scores going up, right? Tia will tell you that these are the topics where you are lagging behind, right? In fact, it will go to an extent and say that this particular question in the exam was answered by 70% of the students. Then why didn't you answer it? See, if the question was answered by 70% of the students, means it was not a very complex one, right? So why did you skip it? You should actually focus on this area, because if others are able to do it, then you should also be able to do it. You can't be, you can't be leaving any stone unturned there. So focus on that topic, she says, right? She says this particular question you have got right, good, but you have taken 23 seconds. On an average, all the students who have got this right have spent only 17 seconds, which means you have spent 6 seconds more in answering this type of a question. So why is that? And I'm sure no human being on the planet can give you this type of analysis. It is not possible, right? Including, yourself when you are analyzing your own performance. You would not know, at seconds level how much time you have spent. But Tia does it, because Tia is a bot. You know that machines can do what humans can't, right? And it won't commit mistakes. And that's what it proudly says. If you look at how Tia looks in the signature, all of you would know, right? She says, unlike humans, I don't commit any mistakes. So please take my advice sincerely. So I think the point that I'm trying to make here is, just practicing is not enough. You have to analyze, understand what are your weaknesses, what are your strengths, right? What you need to focus on, what you need to, take easy, because you have already done well. You know that you are doing good here. So focus more on the other topics. At subject level, which subjects are you good at, which subjects are you bad at, and then start improving your performance from there. So if you start doing this from now, right? I'm sure those who have Tia on their side need not worry about it, but others will have to start doing it, right? You may not have Tia, all of you may not have Tia to help you, but you should help yourself in that case, right? There's no other choice. So sit back and analyze. It is very, very important, right? How do you think the best of the sports person have created all these world records? It is only because of that lot of analysis that happens there, right? They analyze second by second performance of theirs, right? So start doing that. So the point is, the general understanding that we have, the myth that we have, that by practicing more, I'll get a high score, is wrong. It is not just practice. It is something more than that, right? So practice, analyze. Only then you can improve yourself. Okay? So remember, a mistake is not a mistake if it is done for the second time. Then it becomes an intentional one, right? You're getting the point there. So that's about it. I think time now to move to the last one, the last point, which is point number 5. And I'm sure all of you will really like this one, right? This one is something, okay, you'll feel, I should start doing it. And this is what I'm not doing. So, this is what I am actually doing. So I should stop doing it and improve. So let's look at that now. So sharing my screen again. Let me just, yeah. So sharing my screens now. And look at this. I'll give you a little longer to study this. So point number 5, or the habit 5 that you need to kick to succeed in IBPS exam. Success equals practice. If you see in all these points that we have discussed, one word is repeating. The previous one also had practice in it. The previous one had solve in it. I mean, it's like that. So now we have been talking about practice a lot. Now the point again is about practice. It says the general understanding of students, the general habit or the understanding is that you can succeed only when you practice. So what does this mean? So don't get confused between this and the previous one, right? The previous one said that by practicing you'll get a high score, which I said is wrong because it is not just practice, you have to analyze yourself. Now I am saying that the feeling that most of us have is you can succeed only when you practice. So what is wrong here? Right, so Krishna says if you practice more you can succeed, but I am saying that is wrong. Understand Krishna, all these are bad habits. I mean, to put it in simple words. So Krishna is repeatedly commenting that if you practice more you can succeed. Devi thus says only practice and you will succeed. Practice with analyze. Arif, I think that was the previous point where you have to practice and analyze, but this is not that. I mean, definitely not that. Success equals practice. More practice, more chances of success. So Jeevan Francis says more practice, more chances of success, and Jeevan I am saying that this is wrong. This is a bad habit which you have to avoid. Understand, whatever I have told you so far are things that you should not do. And rightly you are saying that we are doing it. So something is wrong on your side, right? You have to stop it now. More practice, more chances of success. That's what Srinivas says. Naveen says practice to succeed. Then if you only practice, success equals to learning plus applying it. Know the mistakes from practice and then improve. I think that was the previous point, guys. This means something else. Always practice. Arif says always practice. And Arif, I am against that. Apply more logic. No idea. If you practice something, you can succeed. Practice on weak point. Sanju. Okay, I think time now for me to stop sharing the screen and explain you what I'm actually trying to say. So point number 5 here was success equals practice. Right? Success equals practice. Now what is this? Success equals practice. Yeah, so I think most of you have understood that for you to succeed you have to practice more, which is rightly the wrong thing that you're doing. Are you able to follow? I am very clear now after looking at all the comments that you are actually going in the wrong direction. You all feel that for me to succeed in the exam I have to practice a lot. Well, practice a lot, analyze and all that has happened, but this is something else that I'm trying to bring out, right? So tell me, I think before I explain this I would like to ask a simple question to all of you, right? How many of you are really hardworking? I mean, like how many of you, you have to be honest now. How many of you think that you have to really work hard and push yourselves, stretch yourself as much as you can, and only then you can succeed? Aarti says if you practice something you can succeed, otherwise not. Which is correct. See, practice will help you help you achieve excellence. Practice may not make you perfect, but practice will definitely help you achieve excellence, right? Or other way of looking at this, practice will actually help you eradicate your mistakes, right? How do you come to excellence? Only when you are not committing those mistakes committed by others. So practice will help that. But here I am saying success is equal to practice. How many of you think that you are really hardworking, or that's what you have to do so that you can succeed in the exam. Yeah, so I'm getting mixed responses here. I am not. So Adi says I am not. Some others are saying I am a hardworking guy, and I believe that by working hard, really hard, and pushing yourselves, you will succeed. Which in my view is a wrong approach. Yeah, hard worker, no, not really. I see all these responses. So let me throw some light here now. Now the point that I'm trying to make is these competitive exams that we are going to appear for, right? Especially bank exams, which are like highly competitive. For every single vacancy, there are thousands of students are appearing for the exam. Are more than a test of your knowledge, right? Don't think that you have to be the you have to be the most intelligent person to crack this exam. It's not that. I'm sure all of you have seen that academically, academic wise, you are better than those who have qualified in the exam. That friend of yours who has actually scored less in graduation, lesser percentage in graduation when compared to you, has actually cracked the exam, and you're sitting and looking at his success. You have missed it by 1 mark. So it is not that you have to be the most intelligent person to crack it, or you have to really work. Of course you have to work hard. I am not saying that you don't have to work hard, but if you continuously push yourself without giving a time for your brain to relax, then you are in trouble. Are you able to follow? Yeah, like Arif rightly pointed out, all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. So that's what I actually mean by saying that kick this habit out. How many of you have done this? I have had this opportunity of visiting some of the examination centers and the exam is going on, right? And what I see is, let's say 10 a.m. is a reporting time. So 10 a.m. they'll open the doors, you have to enter, and then you take your seats, verification, all that happens, and the exam starts at 10:30 or 11 o'clock, let's say. So till 10 a.m. these guys are holding these big books. I don't know where they buy these books from, right? Heavy books loaded with all this concepts and shortcuts, and trying to quickly skim through that book and maybe refresh their concepts, right? It is 9:50, 9:55. In 5 minutes you have to report inside, right? You are going to take one of the most competitive exams in the country or in the world, I would say, right? And you are preparing at 9:55. What are you trying to prove? What are you trying to do? Are you feeling that I'm really working hard until the last minute I've prepared so I'll succeed? It is wrong, right? So all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. Or I would say a boring boy. What? You only practice, right? No life. You just have to practice and practice. Well, I actually preach that you have to practice a lot, but I don't say that don't do anything else. Are you able to follow? What are you trying to do by practicing at 9:55? And why on planet do you think that by learning something at 9:55 you'll be able to crack the exam, right? You should have done that long back, right? 3 months of hard work that you'll put in after the notification comes up if you have really done the right things the right way with the right approach, you need not do that. And I really feel bad when I look at these guys. They are not going to give their best. They'll not be able to give their best shot. However smart that person is, if he's doing things at the last minute there, or not because he has not done it earlier. He has already done it, but he's trying to revise the concepts, right? He's really scared. These are all guys who are very, very scared. They are trying to, refresh the concepts or quickly learn a couple of more shortcut formulas before they go for the exam. No, that's the wrong approach, right? So the point I was trying to make is, these competitive exams is not just a test of your knowledge. More importantly, this is a test of your state of mind. Are you able to follow? The reason why many of us fail to get a high score, though we are capable of doing it, is because we are not able to control our emotions. Are you able to follow? It is not just about your knowledge. I am repeating this again. It is not just about your knowledge. You have to show that you are a very controlled and calm person and relaxed guy when you are doing that. Otherwise, so you have to be quick when you are solving it. But as such, you should be relaxed when you go for the exam. And that is the reason I always say that at least one day before your exam, 24 hours before your exam, cut your preparation, cut your practice. You're not doing anything. You do anything, but don't prepare or practice for the exam. Because it is very important for this part of your body to relax, right? This is what is going to perform. You continuously use it, thinking that this will help you, will not. When will this relax? Are you able to follow? There are other things that you have to involve yourself into, so that you can control that, you can control yourself, right? You can handle that pressure. Many of us fail only because we are not able to handle the pressure, let me tell you. And I'm sure all of you understand this. You have proven yourself that you are good to understand all the points that I've made. I'm sure you also agree with me that we are actually not able to get a good score because we are not able to handle the pressure. We are very good, but we are not able to handle the pressure. Why? Because you have only practiced throughout your preparation time. You have not done anything else. Avoid that. Involve in something which you like, other than studies. Recently I mean, look at sports again. People who play sports, they just don't practice, right? I mean, if Sachin Tendulkar starts practicing, 20 hours a day, will he be able to perform? No. I mean, there's a lot of stress, right? I mean, he'll get stressed physically, mentally, and the best stress buster is to relax. I mean, you have to cut it out. Though it is very important, you have to, at one point of time, you have to stop practicing and involve in something that you like. Maybe go watch a movie, right? Or, go hang out with your friends, or, play some music if you like. It depends on what your hobby is, right? Maybe some of you like painting. So involve yourself in something other than practicing, so that this gets some time to relax, right? It is continuously practicing this part of your body. And how will it perform? It will fail to give the best in the exam, right? I actually, I was about to share that I recently got to know, and from one of my, friends, that there's this sports person called Michael Phelps. I'm sure all of you know about Michael Phelps, right? He is the greatest swimmer on the planet, right? The most decorated Olympian, right? He has got 22 medals in swimming, right? And many world records. Now this guy, I mean, he himself has mentioned this in one of the interviews, that his day of the match, the day when he's going to actually participate in the race, is highly programmed. As in, he exactly gets up at a particular time, let's say 6 a.m., right? Then from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. maybe he'll do some warm-up, he'll practice something, right? Then 7 a.m. to 7:30. I mean, he's so programmed that way that he'll have the same breakfast on that day of the match, right? He'll listen to the same piece of music on that day for the same amount of time, starting at the same time and ending at the same time, right? He'll walk for a particular distance. I'm just trying to explain that in detail, right? So the point is, from the time he gets up till the time the match gets over, or maybe even after that, he's completely programmed his day, and he has been doing that for a long time. Understand, he is not just practicing there, he's also involved in other things, right? He listens to some music because that's a stress buster for him, right? So you also have to start doing it, and that is the reason I always say, cut it after I mean, just one day before the exam, at least one day before the exam. You need to have a good sleep before you go for the exam. You can't be burning the midnight oil one day before the exam, right? You should have done it earlier, when you are in the early stages. But after reaching a particular point, you should start polishing this part of your body, not just by practicing more, but by involving yourself in other things. So I think all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy, and this actually applies to most of us who appear for competitive exams. So ensure that you don't involve, don't stretch beyond a point. I hope all of you have understood what I'm trying to say here. Okay, so let us quickly look at all these 5 points that we have discussed. Let me quickly summarize that, and I think then we are good to close the session. I'm sure all of you will start kicking these habits out of your life and move in the right direction. So let me quickly share the screen again. I'll summarize the points and then we can close it. Okay, so here we are. The 5 habits that we need to pick up, or sorry, I think, yeah, we need to pick up. Number 1, solve. Now this time if you see, the equal to signs have gone, right? We have removed the equal to signs, right? So solve is greater than just writing on paper, right? Solving a question is more than writing. I mean, greater than, not literally greater than by the symbol there, but the point is, it is beyond writing things on paper, right? Answering a question is, something more than solving it. Getting a high score is, more than just answering more questions in the exam, right? Practicing is more than, getting a high score, meaning you have to analyze, right? That's what we have discussed. And lastly, success is not just about practice, right? I mean, you just don't have to practice too much there, right? You have to also involve in other things that can help you relax. So I think that's the key. So if you quickly look at it, we have discussed that. Yeah, we have discussed that, to solve a question, you don't have to write things on paper, right? So try to learn speed maths, various techniques, try to do mental calculations and ensure that you cut down your paperwork. So that's the point, right? Cut down on your paperwork. Okay. So I think I'll write in simple words again. Let me just mention here, right? Cut down paperwork. Point number 2, answer is something more than just solving it. Able to follow? Answer is something more than solving it, right? So avoid conventional methods, right? Learn better ways of solving it, right? Use smart methods, I would say. Use smart methods of answering the questions. Then next point says high score is equal to answer, which is a wrong habit we said, right? High score is something more than answering the questions. So you don't have to answer all the questions to get a high score. You have to choose your questions wisely. So choose questions wisely. Next, point 4 here said, we had discussed that practice equals to high score is a wrong habit, right? Don't be under an impression that you have to kind of practice a lot to get a high score. It is not just practice, it is analyze. Practice and analyze. So basically, analyze your performance, right? Now, the reason why I have mentioned the word practice again here is that you should not be under an impression that you don't have to practice. You have to practice, but what is more important is to analyze your performance. Okay. And the last one, success is not just about practicing more and more, right? For you to achieve success, you have to keep yourself calm. So relax. I think that's what I would say, right? Relax and keep calm. This again has to be practiced. So I think these are the 5 mantras, or these are the 5 habits that you have to pick up, right? Cut down on paperwork, use smart methods to answer the questions, choose your questions wisely in the exam, and when you are practicing, don't just practice, right? Analyze your performance and work on your weaknesses and focus on your strengths too. And finally, relax and keep calm so that you can be in the best state of mind when you give these exams. Okay, so that is about it. I hope all of you have enjoyed this session, and I'm sure you will do well in the exam. Let me also quickly mention about the free access that all of you have got, right? Like you all know, by joining in this live session, you have gain yourself an access to a free account where we have some free videos, right? I mentioned this earlier that there are some free videos that you can watch where we have discussed various techniques. So I think just have a look at these free videos, right? In quantitative aptitude, we have some 3 topics which are actually speed maths, some techniques of speed maths, simple and compound interest, and data sufficiency, which is open for you. So you can learn from these topics free. You don't have to you don't have to do anything. Just log in, you have got the access and go through all these videos. Then there are 2 topics which have been open in logical and critical reasoning, which includes blood relations and coding and decoding. And English, we have topics like close tests, finding errors, vocabulary, etc., which are open for you. So there are 23 videos in quantitative aptitude, 10 videos in logical and critical reasoning, and 10 videos in English, which are available free for you. So I recommend all of you to just go through it, right, and get to learn those techniques and methods that can help you get ready for this exam. Okay, of course there's not anything which is open in the other 2 sections there. And this is TIA. So this is how TIA looks like, right? I am sure all of you remember about TIA, right? We have discussed about this. You have to analyze your performance. Practicing alone will not help. So point number 4 was that. Okay, so TIA says I am a bot, and look at what she says. My goal is to help improve your test performance. Unlike humans, I don't make any mistakes. I hope you find my honest feedback and suggestions useful. So she is the lady, of course not a human being, a bot who has been helping thousands of TalentSprint students analyze their performance. Okay, so what students do, they take the All India mock exam, right? They get their scores along with the analysis from TIA. And this analysis will talk about lots of things, including the strengths and weakness, time spent on correct answers, time spent on wrong answers, time spent on unattempted questions, then what are the subjects that you're good at, what are the topics that you need to focus more on, where is that you're spending more time when compared to others, right? Which are the questions which others are able to solve but you are going wrong. I'm sure these analytics cannot be given by a human, right? No human on planet Earth will have this capability. So I think TIA is a very nice member of the TalentSprint team, a very supportive member of the TalentSprint team, which has been helping students improve their performance. And I'm sure TIA will also help you all when you take these mock exams, right? You know that in the IBPS Pure Success Academy, we have 4 or 5 all India mock exams that we have for you. So please take those exams and you'll get analytics from TIA. And it will, the best part is it will also tell you this is the video that you have to watch so that you don't commit these mistakes, right? You have gone wrong in this question, watch this video. This video talks about how to solve it easily. I think just take those mock tests also. The calendar is available. You can go through that and attend those mock tests and get ready for the exam, okay? And these are some of the things that TIA sends out. The top 5 performers, students who have passed in the exam, students who have failed in the exam. TIA also scolds those who have not attempted the test, right? I'm sure many of our students who have missed some of the all India mock exams have been scolded by TIA, saying that you are going in the wrong direction. Ensure that you come back and start practicing, okay? So I think these are the analytics that you can look, some part of the analytics here. So your percentile scores, your scoreboard, okay? So that is about it. I think we have extended this by 15 minutes, right? But I'm sure all of you have enjoyed the session. The only thing that I would like to say before I close is, do the right things. I'm sure all of you are dedicated, you will work hard, right? And you have done the right thing by joining this session and getting to know the 5 things that you have to kick out from your daily practice and how do you modify it so that you can maximize your chances of success in the exam. So I would like to sign off now, wishing you all very best for your IBPS PU exam, which is scheduled for the month of October 2016, right? All the very best. You can explore about our programs on the website talentsprint.com/bank, right? You can visit our website www.talentsprint.com and avail special offers, right? There are special offers going on which you can explore, right? There's some coupon codes I'm sure you can see on the above the video screen. Use that to avail yourselves a 40% flat discount on the programs. So all the very best. We'll meet again on Friday with same session but in Hindi, and the complete schedule is available there. You can keep joining us in our sessions. Thank you once again. Please share your valuable feedback and take very good care of yourselves. See you.
Hello friends, welcome to TalentSprint. Ever wondered what successful students do that you don't? What is the secret behind their success in these highly competitive exams? What is that one thing which can help you crack these competitive exams? In this session today, we are going to look at a super technique to solve frequently asked questions from percentage. So at the end of this video, you will be able to solve these type of commonly asked questions from percentages in a jiffy. Let's look at the question first. If A's salary is 25% more than that of B, then by what percentage is B's salary less than that of A?